I'd like to call to order the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District, May 22nd.
Perhaps we need to, perhaps we should hammer for attention.
Smash that gavel a bit.
Oh, she just stepped out. She was there a moment ago. Say, why don't you give a rap for attention?
We tried.
Split your eardrum.
All right, I'd like to call to order the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District, May 22nd at 7:02. And can we get a members present?
Hans Hansen,
Here.
Rebecca Douglas,
Here?
Marie Brizuela,
Here.
Joseph Otaidi, Shaquille Ali.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance, Garden Village Elementary School.
My students aren't here, so I've asked my staff and the AFT 3267 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sounds good.
One, two, ready, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. So, are they not here yet? Children?
So should we just move to Daly City?
Yeah.
All right. Mother-student English class at Garden Village.
So I'd like to introduce to you Miss Mary Beth McLaughlin. She's a principal at Garden Village Elementary School and wants to share with us a new program that was started at the school this school year to help support parents supporting their students learning English.
Mr. Valdez,
Yes.
are there people outside that we might need to open the door?
I will check.
I hear children out there, I think. Or at least invite them in.
Can I start? There are seats available.
We do if we have a lot of people.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mary Beth McLaughlin. I'm the new principal at Garden Village. And the reason I started this mother-student English class is I had a group of students that spoke very little English, and I noticed that their mothers were around the school a lot, but they also spoke very little English. And originally, this class was only going to be 8 weeks long. It was supposed to end February 7th, and it continues on. Oh, they're here. It continues to this day. And come on in. And wonderful. Sometimes when I am teaching this class, it is the best part of my day. These are my students. These are the mothers, some of the mothers. I have a bigger group at times. And it is, the reason it kept going is I started building relationship with these wonderful women and their children. A lot of parents, especially stay-at-home mothers, want to be part of their children's education. And at Garden Village, we're attempting to make the school a more welcoming place for the parents who want to help their children. Because these mothers and the other mothers in our school district have entrusted us with their hearts and their treasures and their hopes, which are their children. And due to issues, possibly bad experiences with education, their own education, some parents might feel uncomfortable being in schools, or they might have different kinds of fears, or it could simply be an English language barrier. And some parents don't feel as welcome to be a part of their students' education, that they leave their children at the door of our classrooms and say, now it's your job. And so at Garden Village, we're trying to make it a lot more inclusive. And so I've been having these classes on Mondays and Thursdays for the mothers and the students. And these are a few of our sentence frames that we use. The easiest way to begin conversation is in description. This is the basic function of language, is to describe something. And so we spent a lot of time describing information. And this slide are some of our word banks, because I want to give them word banks, but I also want to use, pictures and, colors. And so we spent a lot of time. And so in a little bit, I'm going to be asking my students some questions similar to what we've been doing in class. Here's another bank of words that we used. I'm talking about needs versus want, which I think sometimes we, even as English non-learners, have trouble with. So now I'm going to ask my students to please introduce themselves, say their name, and then I'm going to ask them to describe someone. Okay? Okay, Iman? Okay. Yeah, you can. Is it okay if she stands? Okay.
Oh, sure.
But face them. Iman, will you please describe someone in your family?
I'm describing my sister. She has green eyes, and she has green eyes, and she has curly hair, and she has beautiful face.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Tell us your name.
My name is Yara, and she's my mother, and my mom, her name is Dana, and she has brown eyes. She is happy. She has a small nose.
Good job.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm my dad has a short hair. He is brown eyes. He is long. He is happy. My name is Ramin. I describe my brother. He has a curly hair, and he has a brown eyes, and he's regular size.
What's his personality like?
Is he mean to you?
Sometimes.
My name is Ruba. I'm going to describe my mom. She has like long hair, and her hair is straight, and she's nervous, sometimes and sometimes she's happy with me, and her eyes are brown, and she is like normal. She is not skinny and not fat. She is
Tell us your name first.
My name is Scrap. My mother, she has brown eyes. She is funny.
Is she tall or short?
She is short. She is
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Would any of you like to come up? Yeah. That's okay. That's okay.
Rahaf, Rahaf.
You can come up if you want.
Rahaf, Rahaf. Go up, Rahaf.
My husband is tall. He has curly hair. He has brown eyes. He is kind. He is fat. He need to fight.
So sometimes we also I ask them questions to try to clarify language and try to get more information. So Iman, I heard there's going to be a talent show at our school. Do you know when it is, what day it is?
I think it is June 6th.
June 6th, okay. Any other information I should know about?
Okay. Like some of the children, they all want to sing and dance.
Okay, okay. Is there, I heard at Ben Franklin, I have two Ben Franklin, the two children on the side here are from Ben Franklin. They also come to my classes after school with their mom and their two siblings. Does Ben Franklin have any events after school for the end of school?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay, okay. And sometimes too, I will start a conversation, talk about something, and they will ask me more clarifying question. When is it? Where is it? And I've tried to tell them if they don't know information, they need to let their teachers know, or me. And the mothers have also been using me as a resource too. Sometimes they get papers from their teachers and they don't understand. And you know, when I slow down the information, and some of them also have other friends and their children do speak English pretty well. And so between the, you know, between the mothers and myself and their children, you know, the information, you know, gets passed along. So, I mean, it's wonderful. I love this class, and we just keep having it. It hasn't ended yet, so thank you.
Can we say something now? Don't leave yet. Wait a minute.
Should I do it?
Yeah. Yeah, and then we'll just get the rest later. Why don't you just announce that we will be ready.
So we do have certificates for all the students, but we will send them to their school. So let's give them another big hand.
I want to take a moment to thank everybody for coming today, and I'm very excited about the program. And keep going to the class. I think it's wonderful. And one thing I noticed today is each of the students got up to speak about the descriptions of members of their family. They were really happy and smiling. And that really made me happy that they're happy. So keep up the good work, okay?
Yes. And thank you, Ms. McLaughlin, for thinking it up and making it happen.
That's a great program for everybody.
These are the programs that put a bright light or in the sky, and actually makes me cry because I come from an ESL house, and you know, kasi Tagalog ang usap natin sa bahay, because Tagalog, it was my primary language in the house, but through working hard, through working with people, I have gotten, you know, the language skills. I know, you know, people are going to say you have an accent and this and that. No, it's a blessing. People are paying to get 2-3 languages under their belt, and we have it naturally. Look at it as a strength. It is something that we can take all the way through life. You know, it could take you to those schools. It could take you to Cal. It could take you to Stanford. It could take you to USF. Be proud that you have it. Parents, get into it. It's something that we must all bank on as something, as a gift. And I want to thank everybody and the team and the administrators and teachers that make this happen, because these are the things, once again, that are the bright lights and stars in our district. Thank you very much.
We're going to check.
All right. So I'm just trying to find out if we can open that wall up so that people can have
The folding
places to
doors.
sit.
Yeah.
Oh, in the meantime, if you're sitting and there's
do it
spaces, can you
ourselves.
just move toward the center so that people can sit on the edge?
I don't think it's locked.
Yeah, there are quite a few seats available if we allow them in.
Maybe someone wants to speak on it. Yeah.
Just a moment to get settled here.
No, can't do?
Oh, he can. Okay. In the meantime,
He's got the door open. I think we can.
I don't know. I'm not going to break it.
there we go. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. That lets in more oxygen, too.
Especially when the door's open.
You can do it.
Of course, people still don't have any place to sit, but at least they can just stand in back there instead of jamming in the doorway. We heard that, Ron.
You don't have those.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Keep it going.
All right, so you ready?
Oh, yeah. I get it.
Daly City Gateway Lions Club.
It's right there.
There we go.
I guess we're next. Is this a microphone?
Yes.
Yes. That's wonderful.
Beautiful.
Ooh. Well, my name is Dave Zeff, and my wife Shirley is here as well. I'm the past president of the Daly City Gateway Lions Club, and she is currently the treasurer. So we both signed the check. That made it a lot easier. A little background. I'm a retired assistant superintendent of schools in a number of school districts throughout Northern California. All right, we have a letter here addressed to the superintendent and the honorable school board members as well. For many years, the Gateway Lions Club has provided free eye screening for students at no cost in an effort to alert their families that their child may have vision problems. We do this under the general supervision of Prevent Blindness of Northern California, which operates this same program throughout all of Northern California cities and counties. It's a very long-standing and wonderful organization of which we are proud to be a part. On our visits, we have seen what a wonderful place it is for students, staff, and families to have this opportunity to have their eyes checked. We operate from ages 3 through 5. If we can catch a problem before age 6, it's much easier to solve than if it waits on into the higher ages. The Daly City Gateway Lions Club took action at its last meeting to make a donation to the General Pershing State Preschool within the Jefferson Elementary School District in the amount of $5,000. the principal is here.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Zamiga, the director of the state preschool at General Pershing. I'd like to thank Mr. Zeff, his wife Shirley, and also Mr. Robert Bruzuela, who continues to come to our school every year to screen our preschoolers for vision. And this year we actually had 4 students identified and were able to get their glasses during the school year so they could fully participate in the classroom. So again, we thank the Lions for their continued support and their generosity. Thank you so much.
That's yours. My wife says I have to finish the letter, so there's still a little bit more. We hope these funds will enable better access in the school to computers for their teachers, so they can do a even better job than they do now, both online and bringing computers into the classroom. This is because technology plays an important role in education. Our Lions Club, by the way, we're one of 2 Lions Clubs here in Daly City. We've only been around for 20 years. The other club's been around much longer than that. It's called the Daly City Host Lions Club. We're the Daly City Gateway Lions Club. So on. We wish to give the students at General Pershing Preschool every opportunity that's possible so they can gain access to computers in the classroom once their vision is made sure of. And we hope this donation will enhance the technology opportunities at the school for both students and staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the district, I will accept that along with Mrs. Amiga. Thank you, Mr. Zaff and the Gateway Lions Club for that very generous donation. And we will work to getting those computers in the school by the start of school next fall.
This is the real check.
I wasn't gonna, I wasn't going to ask, but the thought did cross my mind. I don't think we could cash the laminated one.
You might have, but I don't know.
So do any board members want to comment? Or?
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
What he said.
Well, I always hear about it from all these guys, but thank you for really giving all your time up to go test the children. And they don't only do it for our school, but for any preschool around in Pacifica or Daly City. But thank you for the generous donation.
Echoing on what everybody said, thank you very much. As you know, I always love to announce who our donations are coming from every week, every meeting, and I want to thank you very, very much for that very generous donation. Every dollar helps, and this is a big one, especially at these economic times. So I want to thank you, everybody, for helping our schools.
Thanks once again. So I also want to just mention that our honorable mayor is standing there in the back. All right. Comments from any administrator?
I will keep it brief. I just want to congratulate all the schools. There's been a lot of recognition for our schools lately for their accomplishments, so I want to just congratulate all the schools for the talents that they've been sharing with us and the accomplishments they've had.
I'd like to say I had the opportunity to go to the open house of MP Brown, Thomas Edison, Daniel Webster, and Susan B. Anthony, and I was very impressed with Flat Stanley, who I never knew anything about, but appears to travel around the world just like me. So I think it's a great idea, and it was really cool to see.
I will pass since it looks like we have a lot of speakers.
Comments from any board member?
I will reiterate what Ms. McCulick said, and I just want to give all thanks and honor to all the people who made it possible for the schools that have received awards in the last few weeks, which I'm going to list them and hope I don't miss any. We had Fernando Rivera as a California Distinguished School, Susan B. Anthony, the Title I Achievement Award, and a Kent Award for the TRP dance team. Does that cover them? The big awards?
Those are the big ones, yes.
Okay, let's give them a round of applause. That's some excellent hard work.
Ms. Brizuela.
Sure. Okay, I'll kind of be quick about this. I did attend Woodrow Wilson's annual community fair on Saturday, and it was fantastic. All of the participation that was there. Thank all of the teachers that spent their day off being there to support the PTA and the students. Marjorie Tobias held a wonderful carnival. It was really good on the same day. So I'll say go Wildcats for Woodrow Wilson and go Eagles for Marjorie Tobias. Excellent what they did, and raised a lot of money for our schools. And I did attend the opera performance of the students at Thomas Edison School, and it was packed. I mean, there were so many people, there was so much participation. And the wonderful thing about this opera that they did, it wasn't really singing opera, it was singing. But the students wrote the lyrics. How amazing. They got together and wrote the lyrics. It was wonderful. And I had to run out of there real quick after I saw about 3/4 of it to go to our joint concert at Westmore High School of our middle school bands along with Westmore High School Band, and they were tremendous as well. A little short, should have been longer, but I loved it. It was wonderful. They're very talented. And then I also attended the awards ceremony at the Westmore High School, which how many, you realize that most of the students there are products of our 3 middle schools, mostly from Ben Franklin, but they're there, so it was great to see them continue to achieve at the high level that they were achieving that night. I also attended the awards, I wanted to mention that Broadmoor Property Owners Association gave 2 scholarship awards to 2 graduating students at Westmore, exciting for them. And we will be giving, Broadmoor Property Owners will be giving 2 awards to 2 graduating students from Ben Franklin at their graduation. PTA Awards Dinner was held at Jefferson High School District, well attended by our PTA groups and our administrators and teaching staff as well. Then the Kent Awards was really great. This was a program at Policy to School, Lisa Freyas and Teresa Matelli, and they've done a tremendous job. They started with 1 class after school that has now grown into 6 regular elective classes during the week, which is really fantastic. And it has brought a lot of good things to the students. They've gotten a lot of it, feeling better about themselves, getting together with other students, and really doing a great job and learning something. And other than that, we went at the Kent Awards. I wanted to also congratulate someone. Marta Bookbinder is a former parent in our district, and her children went to our schools, but she was also a school board member for 8 years. She works in South San Francisco, won an award in that district, a Kent Award, for what she's doing with the middle school students. What it is getting the students together at middle school and getting them some fun things to do when they don't have any other outlets to do it, and building character and really preparing them for high school. And I just wanted to say congratulations to Marta Bookbinder. Okay, done. Talk fast.
Mr. Otai.
While you guys are here, I kind of have a pretty long but important message to get out there. As you know, Ms. Dart and Mr. Hagan know that I'm all about civil disobedience and civil service, and we make things happen, and that is our right here in America. That's what makes it beautiful. There is a process for a voice. One of the important things that are happening in San Mateo County is redistricting. For 158 years, the vote in North County has been diluted. As you know, there was Measure B that passed, which said that 50.71%, I think, where is it, of the population wanted to vote for district elections. It passed. Now there are times that you have to, now that a committee has been put together to redraw those lines. Those lines have never been drawn and can be done in your favor in our district, so then your voice is relevant. Politics is tough because it's made to be cumbersome and slow and boring. But it is our civil duty. And even though you don't want to vote or take the time in your voice, Do it for your children. Make sure that they have an equal vote. Make sure that they could fight for their rights. Make sure they could fight for that paycheck. Make sure they could fight for those resources. Now is the time. On Tuesday, May 28th, at the Filipino Bayanihan Resource Center, which is right by the movie theater, there's going to be a workshop at 6 o'clock regarding redistricting. Redistricting is important because those lines will show whether your voice is diluted or not. Now, as you know, as professional meeting attenders that we all go to, one vote is very important because it shows where those resources go. Your voting is important, and your kids' votes are important. So I urge everyone to participate in that workshop regarding redistricting so that resources could come up to here to northern San Mateo County. For the first time, we are now able to have district elections, which means only people from our district up here in North County can vote for the representative. Someone in South County cannot dilute the vote of someone up here. Now, if you looked at your paycheck rate lately, the salary differences from North County and South County are pretty extreme. The jobs, the houses, the environment.
That's why they're here.
So you all feel me, right? I mean, it's out there. But now you have a choice. Now you have a chance to vote for those resources, for your taxpayer dollars, to come up here to the schools, to your area, to your district. Now, as an ESL house, like I said, we didn't understand what the voting process or participation or things like that. But for those that do, now is the chance. Now you could make your voice very, very loud. Now, teachers, students, parents, everybody, the students that are not of voting age now, the pathway has been paved so then they have a loud voice in the future. As you know, I've been saying, one day I want those students to sit up here to lead the district and beyond. When I went out for this lawsuit, people were saying that it was going to be political suicide. And it's true that the people in power didn't want this to happen. But it's worth it. It was a no-brainer to make sure that your kids, our students today and in the future, can have a loud voice to vote. Once again, for those resources, for those jobs, for those things that our community needs so much. And instead of just yelling and doing things about it, now we have a vote. Now we could actually act. Now we could actually fight. This is the word civil service, right? Voting. And unfortunately, some of our elected officials have forgotten the definition of civil service. Because I am a civil servant. I am here for you. I am here for your kids. I'm here to make sure that they have an equal vote, an equal voice. I'm here for the parents, the teachers. I've said it many times. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address. But now I'm asking you, just participate. We have to make this together. We have to make this voice together, a monolithic voice. Because if not, it stays the same. We'll be marginalized like a stepchild, not getting the resources, not getting the jobs, not getting the things we need and our kids need up here in North County. And isn't that what school has taught us about? Isn't that what civil rights was about? It makes sense. And yes, it's cumbersome. But if there's a time to act now, it may not even be for you. And I know we are all tired. But for our kids, it's totally worth it. So 6 o'clock at Filipino Bayanihan Resource Center on Junipero Serra. Come to the workshop. Also regarding redistricting. It's a boring word, but all it means is get your vote on. Get power. And that's how we're going to do it. It's tough. We come from, a donut hole of jobs and resources. But now we can equalize that by voting and making sure you attend this workshop. So don't let this chance go to waste, because if it doesn't happen now, the lines will be drawn not in your favor. And do you want that to happen? I don't. Make sure those lines are drawn in your favor so you have that loud voice, so your children have that loud voice, and so that your grandchildren have that loud voice. On both desks are going to be some documentation regarding redistricting and also a really long op-ed piece on page, what is it? on page 17 regarding redistricting civil servants and your civil rights. Make sure it happens, because we can fight each other regarding resources, but the true vote matters when we go out there to vote here in the state and in federal. Make sure you exercise your right to vote, and make sure those lines aren't drawn not in your favor. Thank you.
I just want to thank all the organizers and the people who showed up to all the events that we've had, honoring, first of all, the students of the year. We had a great ceremony in Coma, and and I attended probably 3/4 of the events that Ms. Brizuela already announced to you. And now I want to reserve the rest of the time for all these speaker cards that I have. And we have over 12, so.
That's okay. We have time. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, let's do it.
So anyhow, we have over 12 speaker cards, so I'm going to ask that people limit their comments to 2 minutes each. And also, if there's anyone who might volunteer to speak at the end, that would help us out as well. Pardon?
Use your mic.
Oh, can you hear me now? I thought it was kind of low. So we're going to ask you to limit your comments to 2 minutes, because we have over 12 I think we have about 12 speaker cards. Or we could ask some people to reserve their comments to the end. So is there?
I thought we were going to let them speak 3 minutes.
That was when we had like 3 cards. We have 12 now.
Okay.
All right. So I guess no. Does anyone want to wait till the end, or?
The end.
No. All right. So 2 minutes each.
Why don't you call 3 at a time so that way they're ready to go one right after the other? I don't have
I'm going to call the student first, Noor, and then after Noor will be May Chan, and then Mary Hagan. So is Noor here?
Come
You
on
get
up
to
and
go
lead
first.
off.
Good evening. My name is Noor Abu Zahriya, and I am a student at Thomas Edison Elementary. I have been going to Thomas Edison for the past 7 years. The teachers there are wonderful. They work extremely hard for their students. However, it has come to my attention that they are not being paid what they deserve, despite the fact that there are many reasons why they deserve a raise. One is that they work several hours after school preparing for tomorrow's lesson, helping students who do not understand today's lesson, correcting test papers, and many other helpful things. The teachers work hard throughout the school day to teach us and continue preparing after the school day is done. Teachers spend more time at school than they do at home with their families. The time spent preparing lessons is also very great, but they do not get paid for this. The time the teachers take to help students has benefited the students, including myself, but they do not get paid for this either. Many teachers have had to leave the Jefferson School District because of their low pay. All in all, the teachers deserve a raise, and their actions prove this.
I don't see May, so I'll go ahead. I'm Mary Hagan. I'm also a teacher at Thomas Edison, and enjoyed having you in my room at Open House. 21 years ago, I walked into 101 Lincoln and interviewed with Bruce Breitler. Some of you may remember Bruce. And I knew I would be happy working in this district, and I have been very happy working here. But lately, things have been tight financially. I started by cutting back on bills, gave up my precious San Francisco Chronicle, and among other things, I stopped putting into my annuities for retirement, and recently I had to stop putting into my kids' college accounts. My son, who goes to school with Bernie's daughter at Lowell High School, will be going off to college in 2 years, and I'd like to start putting back into his college account. But cutting back money wasn't enough. I had to take on extra work, which I didn't mind. I've enjoyed the kindergarten readiness program, the after-school academy for English learners that we started this year at Edison, helping Benjamin write sentence frames, the Daly City Peninsula Partnership after-school reading tutoring. These are all things I've done. I even went to outdoor ed when a 5th grade teacher had to leave early. And So there's just nowhere else to go. I cannot add any more work hours into my day. I cannot cut back on any more bills. I really need a raise. There's two reasons I love going to work. One is the delightful students like Nora that you just met. The other is my staff. We are very close, certificated and classified. We get along. We all eat lunch together. We laugh a lot. This year we've cried a few times. We had an adorable student in second grade that was killed tragically, and we had a retired teacher pass away, Athena Constant. Some of you may remember her. And we also recently found out we're losing our principal that we adore, and we're very sad about that. So how many Thomas Edison teachers are here? As you can see, there's a lot of them here, and there's not time for all of them to come up and speak, but they each have a story also. So we've been taking good care of this district and these students, and now we're asking you to take care of us. So thank you.
Hello, my name is May Chan, and I'm here tonight to speak in support of the teachers in the Jefferson Elementary School District. I'm sure that there are many numbers and statistics that I could repeat, 7 years since the last raise and all that, but I'm not going to take that approach. Instead, I want to appeal to your sense of fairness. Very simply, our teachers work very hard and they deserve a raise. How hard do they work? I brought along some props. Every week in kindergarten, my son received a homework packet on Monday. It was due on Friday, and we would receive them back the following Monday. This is an example of one. Here are the comments that the teacher has written on his homework. You did an excellent job on your work pages. I can tell you spent a considerable amount of time on your math, more than a minute. Now that's a joke because part of the exercise was how much can you do in a minute? You'll see that there are many comments here written by the teacher. You certainly can do a lot in a minute. Here, she's taken the time to read everything that I've written in regards to what we've done with the program and commented back. We did this at school too. Where he needed extra help, she made comments there. This is tricky. He can do it this way. And on every page, she's made comments. I would look at this and think, wow, my kid is so special. He receives so much attention from his teacher. It must take a lot of time to review the homework and make so many notes. One day when I was volunteering in class, my task was to distribute the homework to the other children so that they can take them home. And I saw that every child had as many comments as mine did. And I thought, wow, you know what? Actually, my kid is not that special. He's just like every other kid in class. At the end of the year, each child received a booklet like this that the teacher put together. It has pictures from day one, a review of everything that they did during the month. And I realized that it's not that my kid was not special. Every kid was special. Now this is just one of the many teachers, wonderful teachers that we have in the school district. I just want to reiterate that our teachers work hard and they deserve a raise. Thank you.
Debbie Sabahi, Kelly Chalk, and Andy Garcia.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Sabahi from FDR School, and I'm a member of AFT 3267. And I just wanted to speak tonight because, well, I've been working for the district for 25 years, and over this quarter of a century period, I've only received one decent raise. Over the last decade, my take-home pay, it's been cut nearly 20% for health care, which was once a benefit of ours. Therefore, despite STEP and a column increase, my net pay has remained nearly the same over the last 15 years. As costs rise, I struggle to put my 2 children through college and to provide basic necessities like food on the table. Not having had a decent raise in 15 years is an emotionally frustrating topic. I feel that despite loyal and dedicated service and hard work in raising test scores, I feel insulted by a 2% raise. I think I can speak for most of the employees in our district when I say, please remember that the district employees, we're also human beings. We have lives outside of work, and we deserve more. We ask for a substantial raise.
Greetings to all other attendants of the board meeting and our honorary board members. My name is Andy Garcia, and I am a soon-to-be graduate of Franklin Delano Roosevelt Elementary, enrolled in the 6th grade. I'm here to present the idea of raising all of the teachers' pay from FDR, as they didn't in 7 years, and they are the school at 1200 Skyline Drive. Giving us any title, but we will always have good teachers. Those teachers at FDR are working very hard, and students like me are their first priority. They help us learn and encourage us to stay in our studies. This is what they do other than teaching. We may have PE teachers or textbooks, but what about the difficulty to teach and their effort? A good student usually has a good teacher, and we have them. So treat them with what I know they deserve. Thank you.
Wow, that was one of my past students, so. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Chalk, and I'm a member of the AFT 3267, and I teach 2nd grade at FDR School. And we have quite a representation here this evening. I actually didn't write a long speech or anything, but what I did do is I watched TV the other morning, as I do every morning as I'm getting ready for school. And this couldn't have appeared any more perfectly than it did. It said on TV as a commercial, better quality schools make a better California for all of us. And this couldn't have come at a more perfect time, because in order to have quality schools, we need to have quality teachers. Now, I've been in this district for 26 years, and when I came, we were one of the highest paying districts. And do I want to raise? Of course I want to raise. But what I really want is for our district to continue to be the quality district that I came to 26 years ago. And in order for that to happen, we really need to revisit our salary. We need to get quality teachers to come in, because it was just recently brought to my attention that we are literally thousands of dollars in pay scale from local districts near us. And I'm just so afraid for our district that if we don't raise the salary, not only for us old timers, but for all of these new young teachers coming in, I'm afraid we're not going to get the quality teachers that we in Daly City deserve. So I just ask that you think about that and think about the future for Daly City.
Princess Sanchez, Nicholas Nelson, and Ron Johnson.
Prince, I've never heard Princess.
Good evening, Superintendent and board members of the Jefferson Elementary School District. Thank you for allowing us to speak. Hello, my name is Princess Sanchez, and I am a fourth grade student at Susan B. Anthony School. Recently, we were asked to write a persuasive essay for our Unit 5 Language Arts test. I chose the topic, Teachers Need a Raise. Same here. Imagine a world where teachers get a raise. That's the world I want to imagine. They deserve a raise because they haven't had a raise in 7 years. Now that the economy is better, it is time to give teachers a raise. If they get a raise, they would be very happy and willing to teach us kids. Our school, Susan B. Anthony, won an award for academic achievement, and I believe our school would not have done it without our wonderful teachers. It would mean a lot to our students if you would give our teachers a raise. Some think we should save money instead of spending it. It's true, saving money is a good thing, but we saved money for 7 years, and now it's time. And now it's time to give some of it to our teachers. In conclusion, I imagine a world where teachers get a raise in our district. Thank you.
Hello and good evening, Student Council Board. I am Nicholas Nelson, a student from Susan B. Anthony. Hi, tonight I have come here to ask you for our teachers to get a raise. In my opinion, teachers are one of the most hardworking people I have ever met. Teachers are loyal, kind, generous, brave, and teach us kids everything we are going to need to know. Teachers bring out the best in others, make them smarter, and I think that's pretty hard. Teachers have to be smart to teach, and not only that, but look how many teachers are here right now. Teachers are like the things that give us joy. They have worked hard for 7 years and still have not gotten a raise. So please, I think it's time they get a raise. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak here tonight. Let's go.
Good evening. I'm Jean Conroy from Marjorie Tobias School and a member of AFT 3267. Tonight I bring to you a petition that has been signed by the majority of the teachers in our district. Could I ask all the teachers here to please stand, if you would? This represents an overwhelming feeling, as you can tell. We, the teachers of Jefferson Elementary School District and AFT 3267, support our negotiating team in their efforts to secure a meaningful raise this year. We dedicate ourselves every day to the academic, social, emotional, and physical needs of the children of Daly City, but we must also consider our own financial obligations. Please consider the following points. Our hard work to increase the academic growth of our students is demonstrated by the increase in test scores. We have accepted furlough days for the past 4 years to show our support for the community in these difficult financial times. Our last raise was 2% in 2006. In effect, our salaries have decreased due to the furlough days and the increased contributions to health care. It is now time for the district to acknowledge our professional dedication and continued efforts with a significant raise. Thank you. I believe we have collected them from all but 2 schools. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Alyssa McNulty, Eddie Sasson, and then May Chan again.
Hello. My name is Melissa McNulty, and I am a teacher at Thomas Edison and a proud member of AFT 3267. I have been teaching in this district for about 12 to 13 years, and I understand It may seem as though we are asking you to accomplish something difficult, perhaps even it may feel borderline impossible. Please consider that accomplishing the difficult and borderline impossible is essentially a teacher's job description. Certainly even more so than usual these past several years, as we have continually been asked to do more and more with less and less. And I'm sure you've heard many examples of such efforts. How do we do it? Simple. It comes down to choice. The seemingly impossible is accomplished every day by those who choose to commit to making it happen. Teachers choose to find a way to make it work. Sadly, it sometimes feels as though we have been taken advantage of as a result of our commitment. Isn't it now time that we receive the same level of commitment that is expected of us and that has indeed been given? What the teachers, parents, and children of Daly City are all wanting to know is, what choice will you make? Will you choose to commit to finding a way to support those who, on a daily basis, make the impossible happen for the children of Daly City? In doing so, you will honor not only teachers, but the families of this community whom you serve. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Eddie Sasson, father of Milana Sasson, a third grader at Thomas Edison, and Tosh Sasson is a seventh grader at Fernando Rivera. In 2005, our journey began at Thomas Edison Elementary. What we realized right away was how incredibly dedicated the teachers are and the entire staff are to the children's growth, education, and well-being. Our teachers are literally the angels of education, which we all know. As you know, the Thomas Edison campus has many needs, and the facility often presents challenges, but in the 8 years that we've been part of this TE community, we have seen firsthand all of the staff members prove that with a ton of sacrifice, a great captain, a true team effort, and the drive to believe, positive change is possible. We as parents do understand how difficult your roles are as community leaders and how you have to make tough decisions to keep the district financially stable. In my role as a very involved parent, as the Thomas Edison PTO president, I now believe that since additional funds are coming in from our state, prioritizing teachers' needs is the most important use of our funds. The teachers have made many sacrifices to help our children, and now it is time to make sure that that they know how much we all appreciate their hard work. Thank you, and good night.
Deja vu. Hello, my name is May Chan. My child is a student at Thomas Edison Elementary School. I am aware of a closed session meeting later this evening where the subject is a principal appointment. I'm here to request that the board consider allowing Principal Jennifer LaRock to remain at Thomas Edison School. Mrs. LaRock has built a great community at Thomas Edison. She has established strong relationships with the teachers, students, parents, and community. Under her leadership, Thomas Edison has made great strides in academic achievement, improving test scores, and teacher retention. I have a copy of a petition that was circulated with almost 200 signatures of parents and members of the community asking you to consider keeping Mrs. LaRock at Thomas Edison. We have teachers here from our school as well as a student. Many of the students, in fact, when they saw me circulating the petition, wanted to sign, and I said, no, I'm sorry, it's for adults only. So she is very loved at the school, and we would love to be able to keep her there. So I will hand this over to you.
Melinda Dart.
Good evening.
Melinda Dart, AFT 3267. I wanted to point out something that you might not know, and that's that one of our teachers, and actually several teachers, are working tonight at George Washington presenting a parent workshop sponsored by AFT. And Elaine Francisco's heading that, and it's been done at several schools. We just wanted to mention that, that AFT is now sponsoring some parent workshops. Also, I wanted to point out that I'm very happy that we've come to some agreements with the district. These are non-monetary agreements having to do with class size and the ability to use 15 sick days for the birth or adoption of a child, and progressive discipline policy and a jury duty policy, and I'm happy about those things. I'm happy about the fact that we can talk to each other about these things and come to some agreement. But I do have a little story to tell, and that is the story of a teacher who told me that she can't afford to live here anymore, so she's leaving. She can't afford to be a single parent in the area. She's leaving because of that. But she was cleaning out, and she found a pay stub from 2003. And she looked at it, and in 2003, she compared the two pay stubs, and she makes $150 more a month now. So, it was interesting to have somebody that actually found the pay stub and compared. And we appreciate the fact that there is money on the table. But as you know, it's been a long time. I think everybody knows that number 7, and I think I can only echo what a student said tonight, which is we had 7 years to save some money, and every year the bottom line grew, and every year we were able to put money in the bank, and that was great through the hard times. But now we really have to commit to the well-being of our employees, and we have to do what was also mentioned, make our district the stellar district that it is, and attract those teachers of the future that we're going to need to take over when we all retire. Thank you.
We're not allowed to respond to all of that, so I'll just say that I'm glad there's a lot of love for our teachers and for our principals.
And for our students.
That's
that went without saying, didn't it?
Any correspondence?
Actually, yes. I received 2 notes this week from the County Office of Education. One of them was alerting me that they were in receipt of the Personnel Commission's budget that they passed at a recent meeting, and that they found it to be appropriate and that they approved it. And so then the Personnel Commission's budget will now be enrolled and incorporated into our school district budget. The second one was, and as you know, the board knows that the County Office of Education is responsible and is tasked with by the legislature to review and certify all of our budgets and interim budgets. And we did get the letter saying that they reviewed our second interim budget, and they were in agreement that the district is in good standing. They also, with these letters, offer pieces of advice, and I know that Ms. Kessler will touch on some of this advice about how to respond and prepare for possible comings in coming weeks with future budgets. One of the things that was referenced that I think is good for us to notice is that they cautioned us about the uncertainty of and the complexity of the way that the funds will be coming in the following school years due to the governor's proposal of the local control funding formula and the different ramifications of how those funds come. And so they asked us to proceed in this next budget cycle cautiously and make decisions when actual legislature actions have been taken. And so I know that Ms. Kessler will refer to that when she talks about the governor's proposal. And I think because they review our budgets, we heed the guidance from the county office in preparation of the budgets.
thanks. Any comments?
No, I just want to thank everyone who came to express their thoughts and opinions on things, and we appreciate all the support that we have in our schools from all our employees.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. All right, roll call.
Mr. Hanson.
Aye.
Dr. Douglas.
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela.
Aye.
Mr. Otidy.
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
Aye. Jefferson Elementary School District Governing Board and District Goals 2013-2014.
Yes, and so in your packets you have the goals that were developed last year. And through the course of this year, we worked very steadily at meeting and working toward those goals. But as goals are, they are often 3 to 5 years in advance. And so what I'm recommending is that the board keep those goals, and certainly the first 5 goals that we had, because there are works in progress and there's ways we can continue to improve in each of them. The actual measures of progress toward that will be developed at a later point once the goals are approved. And then I think at the February 23rd meeting, the board identified some areas of governance goals that you wanted to set for yourself. And so what I did was I included the topics that were brought up at the February 23rd meeting in terms of governance goals, to see if you wanted to incorporate those as a separate component.
If I may, before there's a mass exodus, I know everyone's here. I want to just take the opportunity to make sure you grab some information by the side, which is some text that directly influences you, your vote, your money, your cause. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Sneaking out.
So do we?
May I interrupt too?
All right.
Thank you all for coming, all the teachers. Thank you for being here.
Speaker first, right?
All right. So I'm going to call there's actually a speaker for this item. Natty Fong.
Sorry, there wasn't an agenda there, and I need to speak on number 5, not 4.
All right.
That makes sense.
No problem. Any deliberation on the goal? Start with Mr. Hanson.
What?
On the board goals?
Any thoughts? Thoughts, deliberation?
Yes, I do.
All right.
The same objection I've had for 15 years.
All right, well, I need to hear this.
Which goal is this?
I think we should move number 6 to number 1.
The
Maintain and operate the district within a fiscally prudent annual budget. Should be number 1.
I actually have to respectfully disagree because, above all, our first goal is the education of the children.
And my rebuttal is, whatever your cause, it's a lost cause without funding.
I would like to publicly agree with Mr. Hanson. Like every family, if mom and dad don't bring home the bacon, the kids aren't eating, the kids aren't sleeping, and the kids aren't going to school. So as long as we have a cushion inside there, we should...
But not an excessive amount, of course.
Of course.
I look at it, so can I speak? I look at it that all of these are our goals that we have to do to have a good district. And the reason that we do focus on student learning, because that's the number one thing. As you can recall from back in day one, with the one room schoolhouse, the teacher taught all those students, and it didn't matter how hard it was, they did it. And our teachers today are teaching classes, and whether they're paid as much as they were 15 years ago or 7 years ago, they're still doing an outstanding job. So I understand about the money, and it's important, but I think our focus, number one, is schools and education. So I want to leave it there, and I think we kind of talked this to death before. So.
And just to be a little transparent, I mean, I don't necessarily see one goal greater than the other. They're all very important. Yeah, you did say that exactly. But I did think through the progression of the goals, and so there was some thought in that. For me, student learning is the basic function of a school district, and so it is number one. However, in order to be effective at that, it is predicated on each of the goals that it builds upon. So it's built upon, student achievement depends on highly qualified staff and depends upon safe, secure, and accessible classrooms and facilities. Depends upon having access to the technology and the tools that they need to become proficient. And it depends upon the support that we gain from our community, and ultimately it really depends on the financial stability of the school district. And so I sort of see it as a pyramid of sorts where everything builds on each. They're all important, and to be honest, no one goal takes more attention than the others. Each of these 6 goals are really what our district operates on and spends time on a daily basis.
And if it's better to look at it as a circle, it all comes together. But
As I say, we can make it a hexagon, and you can put whichever side on top you'd like.
Well, I'd like to present some evidence of this. For the last 5 board meetings, we've had the whole group here of teachers, and we filled the house, asking for one thing. What was the one thing?
of course.
Okay. I rest my case.
All right. Well, I don't think we're voting on changing the order of the goals, and I definitely would want to keep the first goal to increase student learning outcomes. And like it's already been said, all of the goals are important. Is there anything as far as the goals are concerned that we want to change or enhance or make more specific, or are we going to just...
Well, I can't help myself and my little former English teacher thing. Why do we always say we want to increase the outcomes? Should we not improve the outcomes?
What does it say?
The very first sentence, it says we want to increase student learning outcomes. I don't think we need to have them have more outcomes. We want better outcomes. So I'd like to change that word increase to improve.
Amen to that.
And I don't know how specific we want to get. The only thought that I had was for number 4. Ensure students have access to the technology tools, instruction, and support that they need to prepare for the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. So I think we need to get a little more specific as far as what we're talking about in terms of support.
And I do anticipate getting more specific, but I think at this point it's the district broad goals that I and the staff will work on developing some more concrete superintendent actionable goals that will be coming at a later point once these are adopted.
Because usually the goals are like that, and then underneath it we can put how we get there.
Okay.
But that's good thought.
Well, is there any other deliberation, or do we want to?
I'd like to move that we approve the goals as amended.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye. Done.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Item number 5, resolution number 13-05-22A, commending the Jefferson Council PTA on 50 years of service. And we have a speaker for this, Natty Fong.
So I don't know, do board members have copies of the resolution? It was not available when the agenda was published, but I do have copies now.
It is on the agenda online. Okay.
I didn't get one.
Let's
Just kidding.
Can I come up now?
Go.
I haven't read it this afternoon. Yeah.
With the back of signature.
That's because I don't need a paper copy. I've got it right in front of me. Okay.
When schools, families, and community groups work together to support learning, children tend to do better in school, stay in school longer, and like school more. This is from a 2002 report from the Southwest Educational Development Laboratory. And there have been many, many more studies that show that when parents are involved, students succeed. I think that the accomplishments that you spoke about earlier tonight are due not only to the great district teachers we have here and the administrators, but also to the parents that are involved. And I am really honored that you are recognizing the Jefferson Council, our PTAs and our PTSAs. Of course, the P stands for parents, T is for teachers, and the S is for students. So with that said, I also just wanted to invite everybody to our 50th celebration, which we're having on June 1st. It's a Saturday at the Elks Lodge. We sent out invitations to everybody that we can think of. Actually, we sent it out to the PTA has an honorary service award program where the PTAs present awards to members of their PTAs that have done outstanding service at their local schools. And I have a database of over 700 names of people that have been honored by the PTAs over the 50 years that our council has been around. And it's a good mixture. It's a mixture of community folks, a mixture of parents and of teachers. It's not one group dominating it. So we feel that the collaboration that we've been able to do over these last 50 years as a council, and we have had PTAs in our schools because some of our schools are older than 50 years old and have had PTAs in them, but the council's only been around for 50 years, kind of bringing us all together. We'd love to have everybody come join us on the 1st. It's going to be a really fun event. We're going to go back in history. Bunny Gillespie, the Daly City historian, is going to do a little trivia game with us. She has a lot of information about our schools, so you might want to get on Wikipedia or something, Google, and check those out before you come to our dinner. We're also bringing back the John F. Kennedy PTA's Village Moms. I'm sure, I think Jan came to one of our meetings where you might have seen them. The Macho Moms? Yeah. So we're bringing them back. And then for some of the entertainment, we're going to have some of our local kids in our schools perform during the program. So come join us and celebrate our 50 years that we've been here working together for our children in our community. Thank you.
Where and what time is this at?
It's at the Elks Lodge. It's at 6 o'clock on Saturday the 1st. And I have some extra flyers that I can put out on the table.
Is that the Elks Lodge in
South City,
San Francisco?
yeah. South City on Stonegate.
Unfortunately, I'll be in Hawaii on that day.
Oh, okay. You're excused. Thank you very much for the honor.
All right, thank you. Did all the board members get a chance to look over the resolution? You want to read it out loud?
No, I just thought you should read it out loud.
All right, I can read. We have enough time?
Yeah, sort of.
All right. Jefferson Elementary School District Resolution 13-522A, Jefferson Council of PTA's 50th anniversary. Whereas the Jefferson Council of PTAs, organized on June 1st, 1963, has been bringing our community together for 50 years to advocate for all children, and at the May 2013 California State PTA Convention was honored with the Legacy Award. And whereas the Jefferson Council of PTA's advocacy efforts include assisting most recently with local parcel measure Y and bond measures I and E, all of them with positive outcomes, and also with statewide campaigns such as in 2012, Prop 38, Our Children, Our Future, and in 1998, Prop 10, Tax for Early Childhood Education. And whereas the Jefferson Council of PTAs, when founded in 1963, brought together 16 elementary PTAs, and when both JESDs and JUHSDs enrollments were peaking, brought together over 21 elementary school PTAs and 2 high school PTSAs, and a PTA membership of over 3,800 members. And whereas the Jefferson Council of PTAs during its 50 years has provided great opportunities for leadership development, with many PTA officers finding other public service positions, such as school board trustees, personnel commissioners, and city council members. All positions where they continue to help create policies that positively impacted the lives of the children in our community. And whereas the Jefferson Council of PTAs since 1963 has been working hard to bring our community together on many important issues, holding health and safety fairs, and for the past 11 years co-sponsored the Literacy Day and Health Fair with Jefferson Elementary School District, and Daly City Peninsula Partnership for a district-wide event with over 1,000 students and parents participating in 2013 and in 2012. Jointly received the San Mateo County School Boards Association Kent Award for this outstanding achievement. And whereas the Jefferson Council of PTAs is part of the California State PTA, which has had over 1 million PTA members and whose motto is, quote, every child, one voice, has been heard loud and clear in our community since June 1st, 1963. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Jefferson Elementary School District is tremendously grateful to the Jefferson Council of PTAs for their years of dedication and outstanding contributions to our children and families of our community.
All right.
I would like to move that we accept Resolution 130522A, commending the Jefferson Council of PTAs on 50 years of service.
I'll second.
All right, we need a roll
Third.
call.
Mr. Hanson.
Aye.
Dr. Douglas.
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela.
Aye.
Mr. Otidy.
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
Aye.
Can I say something about it? I just want to take a moment to thank Natty Fong for being president of the council, Jefferson Council PTA. She did it when her children were young. She actually got onto the different boards all the way up to state level and came back to help again to be the president. And she does a tremendous job. Thank you, Natty, for all that you do.
Curriculum and instruction and pupil personnel services. Acceptance of donations.
Once again, this is my, as promised, this is my favorite part. I would like to thank $24 from New York Life and Brandon Blake Bundock, $9.45 from the Shares Program and Save Mart Supermarket, and last but not least, the Daly City Gateway Line Clubs for $5,000 donation. I motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And may it be many more.
Categorical budget updates.
Yes, so I would like to take this opportunity to update you on what's been happening with our categorical programs, and I have some extras for the audience. So there are four main categorical budgets that go directly to the schools, and since 2010, those categorical funds have been reduced. And so I wanted to share annually the annual reduction. So I wanted to share with you what those programs are and then what schools are doing to kind of work in this new reality. So this is based on, the reduction is based on the 2010 census, the number of students that are on free and reduced lunch. That's how we get some of our dollars from the federal government, which then also relates to some of our state funds, and then also the federal sequestration. And so we have one of the categorical programs is a state-funded program. It's called SLIP, State School and Library Improvement Program. It's a block grant. And so since 2010, actually even earlier, it's been reduced about 20%. So 160,000 has been reduced. Every year we get 160,000 less. And Title I, that is a federal fund, and it has been reduced 130,000 this last year, and next year it's going to be reduced. We're anticipating another 40,000 reduction, so it's actually 170,000 reduction. And that the extra 40,000 is the sequestration. And then Economic Impact Aid is a state-funded program, or state-funded categorical that is for our English learners, and that is also reduced because of the 2010 census, which numbers, number of students. That's how our dollars are calculated. And then the last categorical program that goes directly to the schools is our instructional supplies. It's actually from the general fund. We give dollars per student, so per ADA per school, and it was a board approval to reduce by $20 a student in order to meet the reductions across the board with the general fund. So adding that all up, that's an annual reduction of $710,000 per year. So, and that is mainly going to the schools, or that was reduced at the school site level. So how we've been addressing this is that basically the school site council, every school has a school site council, which is comprised of parents and staff members, so certificated and classified. The middle school includes students in their school site council, and the task of the school site council is they're kind of the governing body of these funds and their single plan for student achievement. So they monitor the goals, they develop the goals for the year, as well as all the actions to meet those goals. So English language arts goals, a reading goal, sometimes there's a parent involvement goal, sometimes it's integrated into the subject areas. And then they also have to monitor the budget and allocate funds towards those goals. And so because of a lot of the reductions, schools have had to rethink and realign their instructional programs. And so if you turn the paper over, you'll see the response to intervention model, the pyramid. I've shared this with you before. It's the model of our district plan, our LEA plan, is that, first, it's the first tier of instruction goes to all students, so having a solid instruction for all students at the beginning, but that's not going to meet the needs of all of our students, as we know, and so then there's a second tier of strategic intervention and then intensive intervention for the small group of students that really need it. And so what we've been doing is a lot of the categorical program funds that go to the schools has been towards really that first tier and that first good teaching, and so they've been changing how they fund staff. So they've had to eliminate some positions. They've had to create positions so that they could use this model, which is, as I said, our district plan. It's been approved by the California Department of Education, because that's what with Common Core, what we're going towards. And then also some of the things that were funded through School Site Council single plan was some extracurricular activities like field trips and things. So they've had to cut those out of the school budget and ask PTAs and for donations for those extracurricular activities. So that's some of the ways that schools have been addressing these reductions, these ongoing reductions. Any questions?
But the state of California, English learners, you did mention that was 300,000 from the state. That has been discontinued.
Economic impact aid, well, that's what the local control funding is. So it's actually not decided yet what's happening. We're kind of at a wait and see, but that's the local control funding is kind of in place of the economic impact aid if it goes through. Correct me if I'm.
No, and one of the things that doesn't make any sense and didn't make any sense to me when I first learned was that in 2010, at the height of the recession, that we were getting reduced in the funds that we get to help students who are in poverty, and this is how Title I is allocated, how the EIA funds were allocated, and it just didn't make any sense. But what we learned was that while Daly City was hit hard by the recession, other parts of California were hit greater, and other parts of the country were hit even worse. And so while the number of poor students and families in our district rose during that time, it didn't rise as quickly as other parts of our state. And so when they disperse the funds, it's on a percentage basis. So while we may have had, 1% of the students, for example, that of poor students in the state in the year 2000, in the year 2010, we had 0.8% of the students. Other districts in the Central Valley gained a greater percentage of the poor students and families in the state and saw an increase, and other parts of the country saw a greater increase in students living in poverty. And as you know, and we know very well, this is a national poverty level, which in order to live in San Mateo County, you need to make well above that national poverty level in order to do well. And so other areas where, not going to say it's more affordable, but it is easier to live on less, tend to see a greater percentage of students living in that area just because rent is $600 a month instead of $2,600 a month. So
I have one minor question. All right. So you said most of the adjustments have been made on the Tier 1 level of either
Well, and tier two and the strategic, so doing
so that
some of
would
the
be-
tutoring and the universal access, which is small group instruction,
All right, so that
during
was
the school
my
day.
question. What were some of the tier 2
Mhm.
interventions? So can you say it again?
Sure, it's during the school day, building in that small group instruction. Instead of having someone come in and pull out small groups of students, the teacher, that's what we're trying to implement, having the teacher do small group instruction through universal access.
So doing that is a way to save money by not having to have a resource teacher do a pull out or something like that?
Yeah, but it also is good practice. Because then the child is not transitioning to another room, and there's lots of benefits to that.
So you kind of lumped in the stuff that's, you said the instructional supplies is included in this, where the other stuff kind of doesn't really belong in that category. Yeah. I mean, I don't see it belonging with the others. But, so are you saying that we're down $710,000 of what we need?
We did not receive $710,000 this year that we had received in the past.
But can we not, I mean, I'm looking at how to do the best for our students. Can we not fund it if we take some money out of the little bank account we have? I mean, our little stashed money? I don't want to see the kids not get the help that they need. It's not just the help for the students, but it's the things that the teachers need so they can help the students. So if we're going to be lacking this, don't we have the funds to cover this? I mean, I don't understand why this is kind of here right now. I know it's telling us, but are we going to do something about it?
Well, maybe it would be good, Mr. Vidales, for you to just say why this is on the agenda.
Why is it on the
tonight.
agenda?
Oh, it's on the agenda because there was a request to learn a little bit more about why certain positions were being reduced. Also, just as a point of information for the board, to know the kinds of decisions that school sites have been needing to make in the last 4 to 5 years. Certainly, I think the board can direct us to include more funds for school sites. They would need to be ongoing, so we would need to budget them on an ongoing basis. Because if school sites are going to be doing anything besides purchasing a piece of some materials that are used on a one-time basis, they're going to be adding more support staff or creating programs. We don't want to do that only to take it away within a year or two. So it needs to be a commitment of ongoing funds. And at this point, I think that there are other pressing needs for ongoing funds, and there are other pressing needs for ongoing funds. And if as we learn more about the budget, it appears that, and some of this, and Ms. Kessler will talk about it later, some of this may come to school sites anyway, because there may be more funds to address the needs of students living in poverty and address the needs of students who are learning English. And the way the governor is proposing it, that's where the extra funds are going to come. So right now, this was just as a point of information,
Okay.
and just to get an understanding of what it is that schools have dealt with. So
I'm going to sort of interject and make a suggestion right now. I think we are in a time where we really need to look at our budget, and I mean all the board members, and really looking at everything that's on the budget and what can we do as a board, along with administration, to meet all the needs in our district. It would not only be things like this for the children and teachers, but also take a good look at our finances and whether or not we can definitely afford to give the raises that are appropriate to our whole staff.
When will we be
Not wait for the last minute.
having a public discussion of the budget?
there will be a public discussion because the budget does need to be adopted by June 30th. However, what I would recommend is that once the budget is passed, that we have a budget study session where we learn about the budget that we actually have.
You want us to pass a budget before we study it?
We're going to have to pass a budget because based on some assumptions that may or may not come true. When the budget and the legislature pass their budget, we can hold a study session to say, here's what we have. The budgets that will be passed this year will be much different than what we've had in the past. once the legislature finishes their progress, their job. So we definitely will have a study session to learn about it.
And then we'll be able to adjust our budget accordingly.
We have to, yeah.
All right. Any other discussion on that?
Thank you, Ms. McCulick.
Business and financial procedures, item 2, portable classroom ramp repair project.
So yesterday, they opened up the bids at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and the lowest responsible bidder was Gonzalez, right? And Stronk at $957,000 for the portable classroom ramp repairs at 9 sites. 3 bids came in, and you have copies of those bids. They are the lowest responsible bidders, and we would recommend that you approve us going into agreement with them.
Ramps, a lot of ramps.
R.C. Benson and Sons.
Which is it?
Yeah, how many ramps is this? Yeah, how many ramps?
I'm not sure, but it's at 9 sites. I don't know. Rick?
It's 1, 2,
Thank you, Rick.
5, 6, 7.
What was the question?
How many ramps?
How many? Oh, there's 34 ramps at various sizes and heights. So,
Thank you.
But not
Had a
every
heart attack
school,
when I saw
right?
this.
Not every school.
Or needs new ones.
Need them?
Just most of them.
Do we have a motion, or do we?
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Are we looking at the base bid or the alternate bid?
Base bid. Base.
What is the alternate bid? If it doesn't require a lengthy explanation.
the alternate bid included a ramp at TR Policita that we did not want to include at this time, while we consider other options at that site.
Okay. Start over. Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
If there are no other,
I move that we approve the portable classroom ramp repair project.
Second.
Bid, oh, All
Do you
those in
want?
fa-
Would you please identify, just for the record, the lowest responsible bidder?
Salvez and Strunk with a base bid of $957,000.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Food service update.
I would like to introduce Jeff Hale, who is the new Carrie here, and Jeff has his first update for food service for you, and here he is.
Thank you for having me. I promise I won't be like Carrie and talk too much. Although my slideshow is 27, I will try to make it as quick as possible. A lot of the beginning part of this you have seen multiple times in other presentations. I put it up here just to kind of refresh your memory of kind of what we've been dealing with these new regulations that have come through. Essentially, this year was an increase in fruit and vegetables. And with that increase comes the subgroups. The minimum maximum grains, which they actually lifted the minimum maximum. Off of that, our menu continues the same as if there were the minimum maximums, anticipating that they will go back to those. This is a slide that just kind of shows you over the last couple years how they've been slowly increasing the vegetables and fruit. We went from 2009, 2010, a half a cup to 3/4 a cup to a cup of fruit now So slowly been increasing each year. This was the big piece this year. When we had our 6-cent audit, this was a big piece that they were looking for to make sure that we were in compliance. A half a cup of fruits per day. Dark leafy green vegetables, a half a cup per week. Red orange vegetables, 3/4 of a cup a week. Beans and peas, which the kids absolutely hate, a half a cup a week. So we've got really interesting and very creative ways of sneaking. Well, yes, that was one way.
What is mescaline?
What's that?
What is mescaline?
That's a mescaline mix is like a spring mix, salad mix.
Oh, okay.
Starchy vegetables, half a cup a week, and then other, which is just about everything else that falls in there, half a cup a week. We accomplished most of our requirements on that through our salad bar. And I will go over kind of some other things that had come up through our 6-cent certification. This is a way that we let the students and the staff know. These are just little signs that we have up at the serveries that just show the components. It's not a very clear picture, but those are posted all around the serveries. The 6-cent reimbursement this year was a big piece. We were one of the first districts to receive that certification. We got the honor of being the first district. We also got the honor of training all of the state auditors. So the first day of training, we had 7 state auditors all asking questions, which was a lot of fun. We did great on it. A couple of small corrections that they had asked us to do. It turns out that what we thought we were following the procedure for our second entree, we actually had, we weren't in compliance with the subgroups, the legumes and starchy vegetables. So they asked us to put them on the salad bar. The children have the opportunity to get them, and we were then compliant. They also asked us to pre-package some fruit and vegetables for the students with special needs, as they couldn't go through the salad bar typically. At least they'd had the opportunity to get those. So those were the 2 main things that they wanted us to correct. Kind of back to my original comment with the new regulations, we had to really redo the menu. We, at the beginning of the year, had some difficulty sourcing compliant items. Manufacturers really didn't know where the government was going with these regulations, what was going to change, what was going to stay, so they were kind of hesitant on changing their formulation up until probably around January, February. So we had some difficulties with our meat-free selection. There was a lot of cheese items on the menu. We're starting to see a lot more change in the manufacturing for items for next year. These were some new items that we were kind of forced to come up with. I won't go through each one of them, but they were a lot of it was based on the requirements. As you can see, we got kind of cute with baked beans with the beef dippers, pinto beans with the tacos. So we tried to slip things in there that made sense. But a lot of this also was kind of changing our direction of how we operated, doing a lot more on-site cooking, scratch cooking, whereas in the past we weren't doing that. Got a new kitchen, why not use it? So these were some of the items that came out of the new kitchen. Of course, I came on board. I had 7 weeks of transition with Carrie, which was extremely helpful. She kind of just showed me everything that she's learned in the last 3 years in 7 weeks, as much as she could. And then, of course, we had the big move to the central kitchen down at the maintenance yard, which is where we're at currently. In my experience, I've really never seen a move that smooth. Usually there are a lot of things that go wrong. We're scrambling to do this, to do that. We had none of that. So it was really hats off to the maintenance team to making that happen, but it was a very, very smooth transition. The equipment worked when we came in. There was just small problems. I think the biggest and most exciting piece to this year is this piece here. We really started off the year focusing on safety. We had monthly meetings where we would start the meeting off with a safety message. We'd have weekly safety briefs where we would send out to the school sites topic of the week, lifting properly, making sure you address liquids on the floor, just being aware of your environment, things like that. I, being new into the district, really made it a point to get out to a school a day and still do that. I think it's important for them to get a feel of who I am, to see me there. But it also allowed us to really keep pushing the safety message. So while I'm at the schools, I'm doing the safety audits. That's an Aramark internal program that we run and track. And then it allows me to give feedback immediately, like, hey, you might not want to put this heavy box of whatever, above your head, put it down low so it doesn't fall on you, whatever. So the real focus this year has been on safety and getting that out to the district staff. As a result, reported on-the-job injuries reduced from 13 to 6 last year over this year. Obviously, increased productivity, increased morale, safer working environment, and generally happy people that aren't injured. Now for the good stuff. So this is where we're at this year. I want to point out that these next two graphs are Aramark data. The remaining graphs that I show you are going to be district data. The only reason I point that out is there's a small variance, and that's because of our preschool program. We actually don't have a point of sale system at the preschool program. We input the data afterwards. So I track it in real time on the Aramark side. The district, it's tracked a little bit later. So there is a little discrepancy there. That is pretty much all of our breakfast, lunch, our supper, and equivalents. Equivalents are our a la carte sales. For each equivalent meal is a $3 sale in a la carte. And then it breaks it down per day from August through September. Or I'm sorry, from August through April. Here's kind of a graph to show you where we've been. We started off the year pretty slow, 3,000 meals a day. We slowly increased. We kind of stabled off November, dropped a little December, January, and then have kind of picked the trend back up from there at lunch. I think the last time we presented to you, it was in January, and that was kind of when we noticed that we were a little bit lower than we were last year. But we have slowly started to pick that back up. Breakfast has been relatively stable, as with supper, and I will go into both of those a little bit more later. Here are the meals broken down by schools, and also free, reduced, and paid. Just to give you some numbers, this is total for the year. This is your schools, free, reduced, and paid, and your participation rates based on applications. So if you look at lunch, 74.68 of the 100% of applications are eating. Not 74, 66, 36 equals 100. It's of the applications. Here's how it graphs out compared to last year. Breakfast, we were up free, reduced, and just about the same in paid. Per day, up a little bit in each category. Participation, we were up a little bit on free. It's about the same on reduce and paid. Total lunches were just about where we were at last year in free and reduced. We did take a little bit of a hit in the paid. We believe that is because of the new regulations and the menu offerings that we're currently doing. Here's broken down per day to give you an idea of last year versus this year. Again, we're down on paid. And your participation percent. So here's what I'm looking at for next year, based on where we're at currently. Breakfast seems to be the most effective way to increase our reimbursements to the state and to grow the program. Of course, we're gonna try and we will increase lunch, but when you go back to that first slide where you look at the breakfast, it's flatline across the year. We really have a lot of opportunity to focus on that program, and we're going to do that not only to increase that program, but also a lot of the requirements for next year are based specifically for breakfast. And I don't want to take what we've already established and lose any participation because of the regulations next year. So we're going to be doing promotions twice a month. We've found that we get nearly 95% participation on promotion days. The kids absolutely love it. With the new regulations, and like I'd mentioned with the manufacturers, we're going to be getting some different items to offer. And vendor partnerships, through Aramark, getting vendors to provide us with promotional items, different products, etc. We're also going to be focusing on the serveries at the middle schools. This is just a quick picture I took. We were already in the process of kind of updating their look. This stuff a week ago was in cardboard boxes sitting on the counter. It really does not look appealing. The limited things that we are allowed to serve look much better as they're stacked and organized and on nice display counters. So that's another project that we're going to be looking at for next year. Supper participation as well, on a reimbursement rate, we're looking at $2.86, and a lunch is $2.88 for a free child. So that's another program that has been very flatline that I really want to push participation in. Thank you for everything this year and your partnership with Aramark. Thank you for inviting me to speak today, and I will open it up for questions.
Have we ever had an OSHA visit?
Not that I'm aware of. Well, since December to now, no.
No.
I don't plan on that.
Not since I've been here.
When it comes to the vegetables and fruits, I noticed that you have canned. How often do you use canned food?
Canned, we primarily use for legumes. So for your beans, canned beans,
Oh, beans.
black beans, navy beans, things like that. Most of our vegetables is either coming in fresh or frozen.
And fruits, because I've been to a couple of schools and I saw canned fruit, and I'm just thinking that that's not as healthy as we could do for our students by giving them fresh fruit.
Absolutely. We run canned fruit at the middle schools every Friday, and that's to utilize our commodities through the government. So we will still use the canned fruit, but we don't use it every day.
So they want us to be healthy, but they want us to have canned foods.
Well, I might point out, if the canned fruit is in water or fruit juice rather than in heavy syrup, then it's not nutritionally any worse than fresh fruit.
I think all canned food has sodium.
No, I don't think they add soda on the fruit. The big issue with the fruit is on many of them, and I'm kind of have this nasty feeling that the government commodities have the heavy syrup instead of the more healthy alternatives.
Don't know offhand.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, you know, there again, even there, if we're not serving them that syrup, corn syrup with just the fruit, then it's not as different from eating the fresh fruit as you might think.
I just read the labels and I don't like what I see, so I'm just saying I'm not really crazy about having canned foods. Any canned food.
No.
Any canned
But they may be using the corn now
Mr. Otai?
for gasoline.
I just have two real small questions. Even though it's declined, you know, the on-the-job injuries have declined from 13 to 6. I just still kind of curious, what kind of injuries are they having?
It ranges. You think of the environment. We've got hot ovens, we've got heavy racks, we've got slick floors. So, I mean, everything from dropping a box, hurting your foot, lifting something too heavy. A lot of our folks that are at the sites are not the most, buff and nimble. So it ranges. It's hard for me to pinpoint and say exactly this is the most common injury, which is why we do a weekly training, just so that it's aware that somebody may not realize that you bend or you lift with your legs, not your back, things like that.
So like back injuries, burns. I mean, with
Not some. Well, I mean, we do get burns. We get some back injuries. We get, kind of the whole gamut of things that could happen in a kitchen.
all right, so those six people might be 6 different things.
And also some of those injuries were injuries that had happened last year. So it's kind of difficult to track it specifically this year.
All right. And then you said for the breakfast program that you're going to beef up the promotions.
Recycle.
What exactly is that again? How do you?
So we currently do a once a month promotion, which is our ACE giveaway. We call it a Lucky Tray Day. They get little rulers, little informational packets with healthy choice information on it, pencil toppers, just little things that they go bonkers for. So I've included into our budget for next year to do that twice a month, and then bring in some vendor support, through Kellogg's or some other vendors to be able to possibly do it even more than twice a month.
So I mean, how does that make them go eat the breakfast? Or what? It's during while you're serving breakfast, then you have the items there.
Yeah, there's that. Well, no, we give it with the meal.
All right.
And another example of promotions is a lot of our schools, the parents or guardians walk the children to school.
Right.
Well, why aren't we offering the parents a free cup of coffee and have breakfast with their kids?
Right.
Things like that to just drive the program that I think are real simple fixes that we can make a lot of traction relatively quickly with.
All right. right, thanks, Mr. Hale.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we get the budget. All right.
Oh.
Update on the state May revision budget. Might want to stick around.
This is the best part.
Maybe.
There we have it. Well, for those of you who've stuck this out this far, thank you, and I'm sure all the rest are at home watching me on television, right? Yeah. Here are some extras if anybody would like. I'm sure that you would. Okay, so on Monday, I had the opportunity to go to the governor's May Revise Conference, and I'd like to share that with you today. First off, the economy. It is still growing slowly, but it's growing. But with the passage of Proposition 30, the state has more money in its coffers to work with. One thing about this year is that in January, the state got $4.5 billion more than expected. This causes the economy to appear stronger than it really is. And of course, I think we already know that a big reason for having these monies coming in January are because people were trying to claim things on their 2012 tax return because they were trying to avoid the possibility of higher taxes in the 2013 year from the federal government. And so that's no secret, and so a lot of people paid their money up front, and it was good for us. It was good for Prop 98, and I'll show you that, but it will cause the future year to be a little bit worse than we expected. There were federal tax hikes, as we just said, and also spending cuts, the sequestration. That caused the Department of Finance to lower its growth projections for 2013 from 4.3 to 2.1%. That will, in 2014-15, they expect it to rebound. In 13-14, they expect a $1.3 billion less in the coffers because of the federal tax cuts and tax hikes, and spending cuts and the monies that came in this year instead of next year. Unemployment continues to drop a little bit. We have 9.4% in California, and the best we've had in California in the recent decade was in 2008 at 5.9%. If we compare ourselves now to the federal unemployment rate of 7.6%, you can see we're still considerably behind. We're about a third worse than they are. But we do expect that to improve slowly as the market improves. So for Proposition 98, for the 2012-13 year, the year we're in right now, since the January governor's proposal, the Prop 98 minimum guarantee increased by $2.9 billion. And of course, a lot has to do, again, with that $4.5 billion extra money they got in January. That's a 5.4% increase since the estimate in January of the governor's January proposal, and 19.5% over the 11-12 year. Like I said, it makes the economy appear to be in better shape than it is. It is in better shape, but not quite as good as this would make it look. With that, the governor is charged with determining how much of those funds are ongoing funds and how much of those are not. And when they're not ongoing funds, he wants to give the Prop 98 money out for one-time purposes. And so that's what we have here. He's planning on putting $1.6 billion to inter-year deferrals. So that will be, what's interesting is that will cut down the inter-year deferrals. It's a one-time expense, just like it was a one-time savings. When he reduces them, it's a one-time, it was a one-time savings before, and now it's a one-time expense. What's interesting is for the first year, even though he's reducing it by 1.6 billion. We still aren't going to get it until the following year, because it's too late in the year now for us to get it, because first the legislature has to actually pass it. But it does mean that the monies will be charged against this year's state budget, and that frees up money for next year's state budget. So it still is a good thing. It's a good use of one-time funds, but it doesn't increase our money. It does reduce the wall of debt.
So this is accounting hocus pocus, but we'll get it next year.
You know, actually, it's kind of getting rid of the accounting hocus pocus.
Okay.
But his hands are tied. He can't give it to us until the legislature agrees to it. Additionally, so this is how he's planning on spending the Prop 98 money, the additional monies that we have. He's going to give $1 billion of one-time money for Common Core state standards. It's to be used for professional development, instructional materials, and that technology that we need. We're supposed to use these funds in the years 2013-14 and 14-15. Additionally, because of the extra funds, he's going to increase the amount by $240 million for the first year of the LCFF, the local control funding formula, and of course you'll see that LCFF all over the place. So that first year where he's going to kind of give it to us, it's going to be, he's got $1.9 billion going towards that LCFF now, instead of $1.7 billion. Additionally, he's going to take $61 million and backfill the sequestration to the special ed portion of the sequestration for 1 year. So we will be able to receive all of our monies for the 13-14 year for the sequestration. That affects only the special ed portion, not the Title I and or Title II or any other federal program that it hits. As I said, next year, because of the money coming in this year, they expect the 13-14 year to be worse by $941 million. So it would reduce the Prop 98. And the governor had earlier proposed that, with his January proposal, that in the 2013-14 year, that he would reduce deferred inter-year deferrals by $1.8 billion. So because there's not going to be as much money coming in, he's going to reduce the reduction. So instead of having $1.8 billion go to reduce next year's inter-year deferrals, he's going to do $900 million. So that's, yeah, and that's a good one-time way as well. And he'll have to make that up sometime in the future. So, as you know, the big word is still the local control funding formula, which might be kind of called the legislative control funding formula, because we're kind of losing a lot of that local control in this one, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But just to refresh so that you have a little bit better understanding, this is kind of the formula. This is going to, and I say later on as well, replace the revenue limit. What we'll start out with is a base grant, and there is a specific dollar amount, and it's by grade span, and it's K3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and then the high school and such. They're going to take that base grant that they figured out, and they're going to add onto it the COLA. So that's going to be where we start. Then we're going to have some add-on grants. These add-on grants are going to be based on the percentage of our total enrollment that are English learners, free and reduced students, and foster youth. And they can only fall into one. So if you've got double dippers, you don't get twice as many. If you've got a free and reduced kid that's also an English learner, we don't get 2 points for that. We still only get 1 point. So non-duplicated count. I'm calling that enrollment eligibility percentage. That's my little coin for it, and there's the little thing that means what it is down here. And it pretty much replaces most of the categorical programs, as Sandy was saying. There are a few that aren't being replaced. That is home to school transportation, the TIG, special ed will still be out of it. Lottery isn't included in that either.
Is this would this be considered the EIA funds?
Yes, EIA is going to be in, and this is going to be big bucks here.
This is going to be really big bucks for our district. There are going to be winner districts and loser districts. We're going to be a winner district, but you'll see later on that there's some caveats to it. Okay, so we're going to take this base grant, and then we're going to have this supplemental grant, which means we're going to take that base grant rate that we have. First off, we're going to get that base grant for each kid, but we're going to take that base grant rate, we're going to multiply it by 35%. So 35% of that, each dollar amount, we're going to take that, and then we're going to multiply it by our free, reduced, our EEI. That was not 15 minutes. Okay. By our rate. And so then that will be added on to the grant. And then there's a concentration grant, which does the same thing, except that it doesn't add it for each of our percentage units of kids that are free and reduced, only to the ones that are above 50%. So if we have 73%, it'll be 23% of that. So we take all three of these, we add them together, and then they're going to throw class size reduction in here and fund us at $723 per student. Right now we are getting $1,071 per student, less than any penalties that we're getting. Right now we are getting more than this, so this will be less for us. And
It'll be what for us?
Less per enrollment for class size reduction. And it will be at a firm 24-1 when it is fully implemented. Okay, so when you add all these together and multiply it by our students, what we get here is this will equal the local control funding formula entitlement target. That's the target. That's not the money we're getting, okay? So we're going to go on to the money that we're getting. Maybe. So what they're going to do is how we're going to fund that. How are they going to fund this local, the LCFF? I'll just call it that. First off, it's going to be implemented over a 7-year period. And then what they're going to do is they're going to, again, I'm calling it our gap between what we're getting and what the target is. So what we're getting is equal to what we got this current year. So our revenue limit plus all the categorical programs that get thrown in. We total that up, and then we compare it to what we would be getting from that other formula from the other page, that target. The difference is what I'm calling our gap. So for the year 13-14, they plan on funding that gap by 11.75%. Okay, so we would get 11.75% of that, of the gap amount. So we get everything, so we get that much more. So we get everything that we would have got before, plus 11.75%. The problem is that the following 6 years, we don't know what we're getting on each of those. I mean, they say over 7 years, maybe the rest of the money comes in the very last year. Maybe they spread it out evenly. We don't know. So we'll find that out as we go along. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I'll try to go fast here. There are huge compliance requirements here, particularly with the supplemental and the concentration grants. The base, there's not too much compliance in that. And what that is, upon full implementation, all of these dollars from these add-ons will have to follow the kids, the population of that generated the funds, and they could not supplant that base grant. So we still have to use that base grant on them, and these are really the English language students and such. And until this 7-year implementation, we'll have to do a maintenance of effort. That would mean that each year we have to spend at least as much as we're spending in this year, and each year we can't go below the previous year. But at the very end, all of the funds will have to be spent on that group of kids. So it is possible that the portion of the supplemental add-ons may be so great that our unrestricted revenues might be less than they are now. It's possible. We'll kind of get to that a little bit more later. Okay, so because the LCFF is not actually in law yet. It has to be passed by the legislature. We are going to be doing our budget. We're going to continue doing our budget on the revenue limit method. And School Services of California, as well as the County Office of Ed, are both advising districts to look at the lesser of, determine how much we would get if we were just getting COLA and revenue limit and having the deficit reduction, and compare that to what we'd be getting if we were getting the LCFF, and take the lower of the two. And what that comes out, we're going to have to take the lower of the two because we will get more money with the LCFF. So the lower of the two is going to be using the revenue limit and a decrease in deficit factor. So the revenue limit will have an additional COLA of 1.565%, and there will be a reduction in deficit factor. These two combined will be a 5.85% increase in revenue for us, which is really great. But we have to consider that we're going to have restrictions on it. So, as I said, we're going to be taking scenario number 2 here, and we're going to recognize the COLA as unrestricted, and we're going to recognize the additional 4.285% into the budget, but we're going to put a restriction on it, how we separate out. Sometimes we do it for the math program or the instructional books. We're going to also put this out, and we're going to call it like 1314 state adoption. We're going to wait because the state's going to adopt the budget after we adopt ours. We're going to wait for more information, clarifying information, so we know what to do with it. And that's where Mr. Vidalis was discussing that we would have, a session to determine how, a budget session to determine how are we going to use these funds appropriately. But first we want to find out what kind of restrictions we have and what we're going to get. Okay, so concerns and considerations. Well, this is an enormous departure from the revenue limit. This is something that I've never seen before, and none of us have ever seen before. So it's going to be very interesting. The legislature.
It's a new species.
Yes, exactly. The legislature now has something to work with. They have the governor's final proposal, so they're going to take that and they're going to tweak it as they see fit. Currently, the Senate does agree with the LCFF and with high compliance and restrictions, but they're feeling that I'm trying. They're feeling that they want it to wait till the year 1450 to implement it. So they want to wait a year. The Assembly has not come out and said whether they even support it yet, and we don't know when they would want to wait. And they've also lost a supermajority of Democrats in the Assembly. There are a lot of unanswered questions. We don't know what kind of real flexibility we have or what kind of compliance requirements. And I do want to warn you that the multi-year projection is going to be very difficult to do because once this is passed, there's no more go by COLA. We don't have a COLA year after year that we can use in our multi-year projection to budget out. And since we don't know how they're going to implement it, what percentage, we're going to have a very difficult time trying to forecast the future here, or project the future, should I say. So our next steps, well, we need to adopt our budget for the district no later than June 30th. And the state will adopt their budget, and probably somewhere around the same time we are. But, of course, there's a lot to putting the budget together, and we can't make changes after a certain period of time because a lot of additional information comes out based on the information we have in there. But as soon as the state does come out with the budget, we will make adjustments to ours accordingly within the first 45 days as we are required. So I saved one slide. I put questions on this one.
Well done. Very good. Well, I'm thinking we should invest in crystal balls because there's going to be a run on them.
There's no warranty on them, though.
No, I just want to pray for us.
All right. Dr. Doug.
I think I said it.
All right.
It's going to be challenging because we're not going to know what's happening, and we still have to present our budgets as though we did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ms. Brizuela?
Well, I'm waiting to see all the paperwork and stuff. I think we need a good budget study.
All right. Definitely. Mr. Otani?
Almost there.
All right. I'll ask more in there while you're.
Yeah, go for it.
So I just wanted to know, so we know for sure that the local control funding formula, our target would be higher than what we're getting now, on revenue limit.
I would say I'm pretty darn sure. It looks like our formula, we looked the other day, and it looks like it would be 6.92% compared to the 5.85%.
And so then the amount that, the deficit between what we're getting now and what the LCFF target would be, then we'll get 11.75% of that gap.
Yeah,
All right.
and that's what's making up that 6.92%. That
That would, all right.
that would be the increase that we would have.
One of the things that, Mr. Tidy, before you speak, one of the things that is very different in this May proposal that was in the January proposal is the addition of the restrictions on the use of those additional funds for the students in poverty or English learners. In January, we would be getting extra funds for the district to determine how to utilize and how to disperse. So it could be for the core instructional program to strengthen that, or it could be for supplemental services. Now, the May revision proposal includes very tight restrictions on how those additional funds are to be used. And Ms. Kessler did refer to this, and I just want to make sure that we're all aware so we're not shocked, is that the unrestricted portion of our budgets may actually shrink. Versus the restricted portion of our budget is going to grow. And so we're watching very carefully and speaking to our representatives and making sure that they understand the importance of this budget to our district and what the proposal will do to us, and having them advocate on our behalf.
So that the shrinkage of our unrestricted funds that may occur, is that based on ADA?
No, that's based on the way the formula is and how the dollars have to follow the students.
All right.
Yeah. And if there's one thing I would want to say to any legislature that's actually listening is stop the restrictions.
Right.
Okay,
Stop
would
the
you
restrictions.
repeat that?
Let the district determine how best to educate our children and not the state.
So real local control.
Yeah, I was just saying, make that local.
Like I said, it's turning into legislative control funding formula.
Those restrictions. All right.
To have local control, we need local voting. Anyway, slide 4, please. Just try to understand this new species of funding.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at the base grant, which I'm just going to say it's $100. And then if that includes 1.565% of COLA, that makes it $101.56. Okay. Now, the new one is the supplemental grant. Base rate $100 times 35%, so that's $135. Now, is it multiplying or adding that EE percentage?
Multiplying.
Okay, so the higher EE percentage we have, that would be
The more restricted money we get.
okay.
But I might point out that the base rate times 35% is not 130, well, I guess you'd be adding another 35, yeah.
Adding that, yeah. So we're adding 35.
Make sure we're not thinking we'd be adding another 135.
You should add another word to that. It should be a K, so it's eek.
There we go. Enrollment eligibility kids percent.
Oh, yeah.
Another just small question on slide 4. So I just want to make sure that I'm getting this correct. The $723 per K3 enrollment. Right now, we're still getting money.
Absolutely. We're getting, if you have 20 to 1 or 20.44 to 1, you get $1,071 per year for the kids. And in some classes, we are getting 20 to 1. And, you know, in reality, though we have it up to 23 to 1, and we would have a 15 or 20% penalty at that level, there are a lot of classes that we have that are not at that higher penalty level. So, you know, we're not getting, as an average, 1,071 per enrolled student, but we are getting considerably more than this.
And so we'll continue. So when we move to this new formula, you're expecting that we'll be at 24 to 1?
It's going to be, yeah, we're going to lose funding there. But it should not be restricted. Unless it changes.
Right.
Say, unless it is. Yeah.
All right, just to so just going back to the $100 base grant. So if we get the $100 plus including the percentage, which is 1.65, that's 101.
Let's call it $100 including the percentage.
$100 including the percentage. And then they're going to say the add-on. So the first one is going to be the supplemental grant. So it's going to be our base grant plus $35 because it's just $100.
Correct.
Plus our EE. So if we say that's 52%.
Times the EE.
Times the 52%. So that's roughly going to be $120. Just trust me on the number.
Okay.
And then that makes it, and then we're going to get an additional concentration grant, which is roughly the same number at around $102.
But only for the number of EE percent that's above 50%.
Exactly.
That would be 2%.
So basically, it's back down to roughly to the base grant level, and then that makes it.
These are all plus.
Yeah.
You start with the base and you add the next one, you add the following one.
So just adding those together.
And then you multiply it by all of our students. Our ADA.
Got it. So it's roughly a 300% increase on whatever that base grant. Roughly.
300% increase? No,
it can't be that.
I think
it's gonna be
you're including the
35%.
base rate 3 times. So we get the base rate for every single student. Then a certain segment of our students generate an additional 35%. And then another certain segment, those over 50%, generate an additional 35%.
So I think I can help out by saying that you have that $100 for the base, and if you have $35 for that supplemental,
yes.
You take that supplemental, and if we have 75% free reduce, that EE number, you take that 35
times 75,
and you multiply it by 0.75. So now that's going to be what, $25? We'll just say it's 25. So that 25 will be added to that 100. And then we'll do that same thing, but only for the ones over 50%. So now instead of adding 75 times 0.75, it would be times 0.25 perhaps. And so, which would be the reciprocal, so that would be exactly additional 25, and another 10 added to it would be 135.
Understood.
Okay?
So they have 3 weeks to figure this out.
Let us know how. No chance. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Kessler.
Well, I'm glad we're not voting on anything. So
we can go home and contemplate this.
We got to see the real numbers here.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay,
As Dr. Douglas said, thanks.
We're done now, right?
Reports from board representatives on district committees. Were there any?
No, we've been
Yes,
really
I
fun
believe
things.
our curriculum and
we did
instruction
have one.
committee.
Do you want to say something?
I can speak briefly to that. I think the main thing we did in the curriculum and instruction committee was we actually got a chance to take a good close look at the new sample for the new testing. Smarter Balance, thank you, having a senior moment there, for the testing for the Common Core, which were piloted at a couple of our schools, and to see not only what the test looks like, which it really does test more than just can you fill in a blank, do you know, it is, we were looking at the language arts test, and it really was testing in an intelligent way, the comprehension.
we also had some discussion of the feedback from those pilot programs, one of which, of course, is that, yes, it's going to require a lot of computers, because these tests take however long the kids need, and for a lot of them, it's more than a day to finish it. And also that there's going to need to be opportunities for the students to learn to use the technology, to become familiar with that style of testing, because it will be a change. It was something new. That was something that threw some of the kids. They struggled a little bit. So there's a lot that will need to be done before we're going to be sort of ready, capable, and competent at this new form of testing, which does have the promise of giving us more useful feedback and a more accurate assessment of what our kids are doing. So it was both a happy thing and a, oh my goodness, this is going to take a lot of work and some time to get there.
I would just add also that it was nice to see that Ms. McCulloch is working on presenting the information as well to parents so that they understand what's going on with the Common Core and how to support their children in the transition as well. And so there will be a lot of resources that they'll be able to access on our website, and then links to other websites. Coming soon. When will it come? No.
Coming soon to a website near you.
And I don't believe there were any other district committee meetings.
I don't think so.
Nope.
No.
Comments from any board member? Mr. Hanson.
I'll pass.
Dr. Duck,
Nope.
Pass. Ms. Weller?
I said I was going to say something. I forgot.
Pass.
I'll find it.
Tidy?
Yeah, just on making sure that we understand the importance of teachers, and I just want to leave with a quote. When you live in a poor neighborhood, you're living in an area where you have poor schools. When you have poor schools, you have poor teachers. When you have poor teachers, you get a poor education. When you get a poor education, you can only work in a poor-paying job, and that poor-paying job enables you to live again in a poor neighborhood. So it's a vicious cycle. Teachers are the key to unlocking this vicious cycle. This is March 15th, 1964, Malcolm X.
Ms. Priscilla, I'll give you another chance. You're fine?
Yeah, I'm fine. I thought I was going to make an announcement. I forgot what it was.
All right.
Oh, just to tell everybody to go down to the county fair. Let me just get it out. The paperwork. There's take your children or your family and go down to the fair, and it doesn't cost anything to get in if you're there at 10 o'clock before 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's not bad. Get into the county fair. So I don't have it. It's promoting disaster preparedness, and I don't know if anybody got that delivered to them at all. But anyway, if you go there, you can get in for free, but it's there so that you can have access to getting information to prepare yourself in case of an emergency, and it's a good thing. So go down there.
All right.
It's on the, shoot, I forgot the date. I'll shoot it to you.
Okay.
It's probably on the channel 26, I'll bet, 27.
On the billboard.
Okay, so there's been a lot of events and activities. May is really hectic around here, so I just want to once again congratulate all the people who have been honored, whether there has been teachers that have been honored, students, principals. A lot of nice words have been said about principals, and just congratulate all of us for our good work. And at this time, we would like to convene and take a 5 vote.
If the board doesn't mind, I'm going to recommend that we table the item in closed session for the regular governing board meeting, and then that we adjourn the meeting now, and then that we reconvene the special board meeting immediately following, because that item is of more import and time. Okay.
We had, what, we
We have a property item for closed session, and I'm recommending that be tabled to a future meeting, and that's okay. And then the timely item is the special board meeting that we should have immediately after this meeting.
Can I ask a question before we do that? The meeting that we were having for the property, is there anything substantial that we should be knowing?
Like I said, I'm recommending that it be tabled to the next meeting because it can wait.
Okay, that's what I want to, in other words, it's not important.
It can wait.
It's not urgent.
It's urgent,
Right.
yeah.
So then I would make the motion that we table the closed session item on the conference with real property negotiator till our next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
At this time, we will convene and take a 5-minute
We will adjourn.
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 Yeah.
And take a 5-minute recess and then convene to closed session.